The Batman, the real script by Ben Affleck. Ben Affleck had I'd say about 4 or 5 different rewrites to the Batman script. It was not where he was happy with it. It was not at that point. So what he decided to do was he was going to indulge into a different direction. He was taking a road less traveled by with the character of Batman. He wanted to go into the psychological detective skills of Batman because Batman was supposed to be one of the world's best detectives. And he's saying, look, we need to go ahead and take this, opportunity to, explore it in a different situation. Like, let's go in the direction of the genius of Batman without making it as bland like some of the superhero movies. Let's not be afraid to be gritty. This is what David Ayers and everyone else was complaining about years ago. And everyone had their displeasures or, whatever you want to call it when it came to making the film. But as they went along and went forward, there have been many of people who were disinterested or what you would call unsatisfactory towards Ben Affleck playing the role of Batman's anyway, until they saw him play it and said, okay, well, yeah, he's dedicated to the role. So while he was still in Batman shape, he wanted to make sure, okay, I'm keeping myself in shape to play Batman for this movie. So then it went to the point where they was going to go with another Batman. And he was just going to write and produce the film as the right he came up with. And, Warner Brothers was going to buy the script. This whole thing of him returning to play Batman again after Justice League was what he went through with that. That whole experience. He didn't, they had to sweeten the pot for him. So to sweeten the pot, that led to, well, let's go ahead and get him what he wants and what he needs to succeed here. Let's get him, this so-called notion of this need to happen or that need to happen. Let's just wait it out and see what pops up. So as everyone is trying to make a decision on the script, the Batman with Ben Affleck was a continuation from the Justice League version that they did in the reshoot. Well, that was the direction they wanted to go in. Because the original led into the actual, when you saw the Snyder cut, you saw the original clip he shot, led to the making of the Batman. Where Deathstroke is told, we see Deathstroke appear on the yacht, same scene, except for this time he tells him the identity of Batman, that he's actually Bruce Wayne. And that was knowledge he needed to know, and that is the reason for the battle. as Deathstroke is the reason why he believes Batman caused the death of his son and he wants revenge, but he doesn't want to kill Batman. He wants Batman to be ripped apart by losing everything. As he plays this cerebral game with Batman, telling him things that only he would know. It's like, oh, this person knows who I am. And everybody in Batman's life, or that he was connected to, were being, you know, hurt by Deathstroke. Batman's love interest, a woman that he was seeing, a woman he was dating, she was slain in a death trap. It was almost like a Saw type movie. It was dark. But the main showdown and a lot of this game was going to be played out in Arkham Asylum, where he was going to learn a lot about his father's and mother's past. That his mother was once in Arkham Asylum, as you saw in the original The Batman movie. And that Batman movie was full of action. The Batman had a lot of action from the beginning. It was a big action scene in the middle, and it was a huge action scene at the end, like major. So when you start seeing and putting all this together, it was just a lot of crazy action that was in there. Like that, the beginning scenes when Batman was on a chase and he was bringing guys down, like it was brutal. It was like 10 full minutes of action that you like, oh man, this Batman movie's gonna be off the chain. Like the way they written it, it was so like graphic. Like Batman breaks this guy's leg. It was crazy. It was intense. So once it was tweaked a couple of times, like the first time he wrote it, um, Alfred is sick and was hiding it from Batman. And, he was trying to hide it from Batman a lot, and Batman's noticed, and he's just thinking it's age. But Alfred gets a diagnosis that it's irreversible, whatever illness that he had. It's taking its toll on Alfred, so Alfred doesn't have much time. So he's preparing Bruce Wayne to, you're going to be doing this alone, and I don't really want you to be out here by yourself, and you have the rest of the gang, the people that's going to be taking care of you. So his diagnosis is different. Alfred's sick, but he knows that the Justice League is going to take over and take care of him, and he's just going to keep going until the lights go dim. But Alfred is killed by Deathstroke. So in the movie, when that happens, it's like, okay, well, Batman never knew he was sick. Alfred knew he was sick the whole time. So that was changed and removed. The illness was removed, but Deathstroke was still going to kill Alfred. So Alfred dies in the Affleck version of the Deadpool movie. And as this plays out, other people were harmed. People from Wayne, Wayne Tower that fell. That was a big thing when all those people who died because of the Superman thing and Wayne Tower fell down, and all of the funerals that came, and Bruce Wayne had to face that. Deadpool was going after them. Everybody that was close to Batman. Batman has a battle with some guys that Deathstroke had hired to do the hit on Batman just to attack him, to keep him occupied. Because Batman was getting too close to him to find out his location. And he found out where he was staying. And had he not had those people there in time, Batman would have eventually cracked down. So you got to see how smart Batman was with these traps. he needed Batman to continuously take the breadcrumbs until he's broken him completely. Then he reveals to Batman about his mother being in Arkham Asylum and how his father was a crook. His father took money from a mobster. And that's kind of played out in the movie The Batman. So those parts that you saw that was in The Batman with Robert Patterson is the same thing that was in Affleck's script. The father was involved in something shady, helping the mob out, but he was, pretty much forced to be in that situation. It wasn't a situation he was proud to be associated with. Now, the mother, she was having a nervous breakdown a lot, having dark spells. She grew up young and was in Arkham Asylum. She had a lot of mental issues when she was growing up before she, eventually gotten over her depressions and all of the things she was going through in her dark stages. And Batman started to question, is that the reason he's the way he is? It's because now my mother was in Arkham Asylum, I never knew, and I probably have, contracted some of the things she got. That makes me so dark and immune, and I push people away. And so it was a lot of different layers to the Batman character that a lot of people were prepared to see or even wanting to see. But I would have just wished that they took or had the bravery to pursue going down those avenues and those tropes, because that definitely makes for a more impactful film, in my opinion. I just really don't know what else to do next, and that's what Batman was at. Like, he didn't know what was happening, like traps he was falling in. But the fight scene with him and Deathstroke was remarkable. They had a fight scene that was crazy. And then Batman set a trap for him as he found out the identity and explained to him about the son and about loss and grief and pain, and he just couldn't do it. Now the final ending of this is four different endings. There's one ending that it was a bomb going off somewhere in the city, and the Flash it was supposed to be a homage, like the Flash took care of a bomb that was supposed to go off in the city, and Batman didn't have to do it. Alfred had told him, "Oh, the Flash is taking care of that, and Superman is taking care of the tsunami." So this was a local Gotham thing. I think we can handle this. Like, the big guys don't have to bring in the big guns, or they said the big guns don't have to come in for this one. And they kind of used that for the Flash movie. When the Flash, Superman was fighting a volcano and everybody else was fighting other things, this was where a lot of things came to basically, like, you want to say die. Yeah, well, this is it. Well, the Batman is one that is a classic for those who want to be engaged in it. If you don't, then it's understandable that you'll miss out. But I could see how somebody could say, "Well, I don't want to be a part of that. It's not my thing." Cool. Might not, you know, they say different strokes for different folks. This was dark, gritty, cerebral, and made you want to think. And it's kind of what DC characters were all about. Superman is what people think because he's got a bright red cape. That was a dark comic. Like it's not a, you know, the characters are what's significant with actual DC. Marvel is more jokey comedy type of thing. That's not DC. See, Deadpool came out, and that wasn't really even Marvel's doing. That was Sony. So I mean Fox actually, and once all of these things started happening with the characters, they just break out and start making all these different changes to the script. Like Martian Manhunter was supposed to be in here, and we knew he was Martian Manhunter from Justice League, but he goes back to playing the role of the General in the Batman, and he gives some vital information to Bruce, something that he was going to need, and something that he wanted to tell people. Well, I look at it like this: the world is always going to be they're going to be a place where you kind of want to see how far you can take things before it happens. Jay Olivia is one of the most prized or sought after um, what you would say, most looked after or most wanted to see storybook artist. Now, due to his storybooks, you see you have a lot of indications of problems, you know. But he's the storybook artist, like the concept art guy. So when you go and get your thoughts out, he's got the storyboard out there. He's got Jay Olivia up there, and he saw the interpretations before he quit DC back in 2017. You know, and he was saying that what Affleck was working on back then was effing awesome. He saw a lot of Batman things that was really cool about what he was trying to do with the Batman storyline that they hadn't even explored yet. Build around the actual character of Batman and Bruce Wayne from him being a detective. And he just really wished that would have came to fruition. Um, Now, Ben Affleck didn't singularly write this script. Jeff Johns and Chris Terrio helped out with the multiple drafts that they completed. From the understanding that they have, when they brought on the storybook artists, they were at the third draft, but it was what Jeff Johns and Ben Affleck at that point, had gotten together. And it was a really great project from the very beginning. Then Ben had to step away because of his, going through AA and all that stuff. So right now, they told him, he can't speak on it publicly, But one day he want to spill the whole beans about it. Then in 2019, Affleck stepped away after he was signed on to be the writer, director, and the star of the movie. So this was gonna deal, like I told you, this script was epic. And the cinematographer, his name is Robert Richardson for DC. He was also on to the project. And this was going to deal with a lot of psychological damage that Bruce Wayne was going through. A lot of what we got with Matt Reeves' universe. I don't know if the characters would have been as grittyly defined with Affleck's version of it, but like we had super emo Batman in the Batman, which I love because it was so gritty. Even in the daytime, it didn't really look like daytime. It looked like the UK almost. It was just gritty. Like there's no sun shining. No sun, no bright sunny days ever. It's just all gloom. Well, there was no Catwoman in the movie. Not at all. It was in, they had Catwoman with Zoe Kravitz in there as Catwoman. She was not involved in this project whatsoever at the time. Catwoman was not introduced. It was not having her in it at all. This was basically a Batman movie. The only thing that you find out is going through this maze. The Arkham Asylum was more like the video game. It was playing out more like Deathstroke was being the Joker in this situation. They never disclosed was the Joker involved in this, Arkham Asylum thing, but you do find out what happened to the mystery and the clues they were leaving about Robin. Like all of that gets answered in this film. You find out what happened to Robin. So all of the little clues that they left behind that we were able to figure out that we saw in the Snyder cut when they put like what happened in there, you knew the Joker had killed him. You know, the world don't seem to understand how different things are. Sometimes people just don't get it. They don't want to get it. They don't want to see it. They don't want to know it. So it's just always going to be up in the air. When you think it, when it comes to what could have been, this should have been Batman's future. Why isn't it Batman's future? So I know I'm somebody who believes that the Affleck Batman would have worked, especially aligned rather with the mythos of the Arkham Asylum angle. That would have definitely paid off. And any ancillary villains they had put in there, okay, but this was more of an emotional story as Deathstroke, is out for vengeance after the death of his son and blames Batman. So interesting. But anyway, I'm out. Thank you guys for your time. Members only. Appreciate you. Love, peace, and hair grease.